Patrick, how about those Twins, huh?
Well,
Woo.
they've proven versatile. They can get beat giving up 16, or they can get beat
Mm.
giving up one. They're just in one of those periods that And then Royce is. I mean, what I don't. Through the years with Buxton, of course, we had great frustration,
Yep.
but this is this is, I think, even goofier than Buxton. Most of Buxton's injuries were explainable, right? Hitting a fence or breaking something or getting hit with a pitch or something. This guy can't run to first base, so it's incredible. And he finally was starting to get a couple of hits, but so is there a case? I guess the greatest case ever for
Yep.
a guy that was always injured and then by about age 28, he got healthy and was one of the all-time greats as Molitor. When Molitor was a young player in Milwaukee,
Yep.
I'm sure there was great frustrations then, especially back in that era when injuries were not what they are today in sports. They because they're not looking, they're not they did not inspect your body for injuries like they do now
No.
to have an excuse to put you on the disabled list. So so Molitor was, they finally made him a DH and he played forever and it was fantastic. He was the best 38-year-old player I ever saw.
Yep.
But I don't know. Royce is just, but I really think now, I thought he lost a few pounds, didn't you? See, looking at him, he didn't look quite as muscle bound this year when he came back. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think he just getting hurt all the time. He changed his body. He decided he was going to be a power hitter. When he was drafted, he was more of an athlete, and I don't know what to think about him. But and Buxton gets hit on the elbow, and then they got the whole deal of not playing him all the time, and it's I they're not very good, and then they're never playing their team. They never play their whole team, so it's this
Mm-hmm.
this this was inevitable because I know I never as I keep saying, when you look back at Twins history, this team winning 13 in a row is going to like blow your mind if you weren't around now, because when they end up 76 and 86, how'd they win 13 in a row? But they're just not very good, I don't think. In the bottom line with the pitching, now you're depending on Chris Paddock to make 28 starts.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think the odds of that are?
Right.
And Joe Ryan, he's a horse. He's been great, and but that's it now. It's what what do you think? I went nuts, okay, because old school me
Uh-huh.
hooking Woods Richardson after 53 pitches. What is that? How stupid is that?
Third
We
time through?
don't we don't want him to face him the
Third.
third time through. Well, maybe the reason you don't want him to face him the third time through is he's never pitched this well in life in a major league game. Okay? If he's pitching normal and he's throwing 80 pitches and he's struggling and he's walking a few guys here and there, you've never seen him this good in the big leagues. That you can then send him out to face them the third time. You're doing them a favor, and I the prearranged strategies
Yep.
that you do not watch the game and see what's happening. You decide 3 hours before the game that he can't face him a third time, no matter how well he's pitching. It drives me nuts. I just I don't understand the fact that you don't observe and then say, okay, yeah, we didn't plan on letting him face him a third time, but that was based on him having given up 3 runs and 5 hits, not
Right.
not completely clean innings. And so what does he take out of that game now? if mentally, what does he take out of that game? Saying, this is as good as I've been, and they hit and say, "Wow, I'm really optimistic after this," or it's, "Boy, these guys don't think bleep of me, do they? They, I throw it like this. I mean, he was basically on double secret probation entering that game after his awful start when he first came back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he does this, and you don't show any faith in him to go overuse your bullpen again. It was just ridiculous.
And then on top of that, the incredible thing is on the weekend, 3 games, 0 for 15 with runners in scoring position, which by the way they had been very good in. So like they if they
Mm-hmm.
get the pitching, like the game on Saturday, the Hunter Brown Ryan game was a marvelous game.
Oh
But
yes,
if they get the pitching, they can't hit, and
yes,
if they hit a bit, the starting pitching is just absolutely awful.
yeah. But right now, so what do you got? Ryan, you got Paddock, you got Woods Richardson, you got Festa. Who else is a starter? Who am I
Ober.
missing? Ober. Oh God,
But
yes.
he probably should take a start off considering his recent issues.
And he's 6'9" and he's got a bad hip.
Yeah,
Which
that's what. Yeah,
that's not good to be 6'9" and have a bad hip. But I I was convinced he he was a marvel. I was convinced he was a marvel because for 2 years we've seen him throwing 91-mile-an-hour fastballs right at the letters, and they don't hit them. And then the changeup was unhittable. But what I've seen is he cannot get the hitters to chase that slider, sweeper, whatever the hell it is, out of the strike zone because the scouting reports on him. I think the other team's scouting report is don't even if you see a breaking ball, don't swing at it unless you got two strikes on you
mm-hmm.
because it's going to end up out of the strike zone. So that's just one of my observations. But the other one is his control hasn't been the same, and he's hurting, and the league has kind of figured him out, and you can't. This team has got no chance if this is him. If this is him, they have no chance.
Right.
I don't
Well,
think they have much of a chance anyway. But this, and let's face it, didn't our $36 million shortstop finally get his 20th RBI the other day?
that's the one I was going to bring up.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one where he's killing them.
Yes, yes. I mean, he's makes us play at shortstop, and you get excited. But the kid that replaced him when they let him go down there and was very controversial, Pena.
It's great.
It's fantastic.
Yes.
He's got like he's hitting 300 and something and driving in runs, and he's fantastic. Now they're in a situation they got to pay him now finally, but they think of the money they saved and never took a step back by not signing him.
They
And
upgraded.
yes, and let's face it, we the Twins were ready to let that ship sail, right? Correa, they were gonna.
Yep.
Who was gonna play shortstop for them? Kyle Farmer or somebody when they were gonna let Correa
No,
go?
that was before. So they
Yeah.
got him to play shortstop, and then Correa became available the
Oh,
first
that's
time.
right. That's right.
But then, yeah,
But
Correa was long gone to what, the Giants and then the Mets.
yeah, he was the Giants and the Mets because we were, and I think in retrospect, the the Twins were like, oh my God, he's gonna. We we made this $200 million offer, knowing it wasn't going to be enough, just to make us look good. That we tried to sign him, and now we got him. So I mean, he's a hell of a player, but my God, he never drives in a run. In the field, he's great, but and he can come up with an injury and miss 3 days at any time. So yeah,
Yes.
he's. Now I said in the past when they're playing good, when those moments when they're playing good, like last year for 3 months and this year for a month,
Mm-hmm.
he gives you a class, because he's so good at shortstop. But my God, you can't have a $200 million guy who never drives in a run. So it's
No way.
I think it's going to be a long, lonely summer, don't you? Once in a while, they'll have an opponent in on a weekend and draw a decent crowd, but
Well, you do got the Brewers are in this weekend, so that
yes,
should
right.
help them out a little bit.
Yes.
But
What
yeah,
I wonder what the level of excitement is in Milwaukee though right now. I mean, they're still drawing okay, but this is not a team for them to be overly excited about either, Milwaukee. So who knows if the Western Wisconsin. But at least we know, I think we've gotten to the point where we can't blame bad crowds on graduation parties and stuff like that, right? We're far enough into the summer now. We can't keep making those stupid excuses to, but I don't know. It's people are down on them, and for good, Rocco keeps making up excuses here and there and tough losses, but this is what is it? 8 out of 10, right? 8 out of 10 they've lost. I
yes,
guess.
yes. The
Yeah.
last time I looked at this on Monday morning. Cleveland, Kansas City, and the Twins were all 2-8 in their last 10.
Yes.
All of them.
Oh, did you see the central standings? I think Detroit was like 4-6 or 3-7, and then everybody else was 2-8, and then the Whiteys were. I think the Whiteys had the second best record in the division at 3-7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 10. It was somebody told me who told me that they had a from Thursday through Sunday, lad, they had a 1-15 record or something. The Central, so the Central is back. That's
I
good.
was gonna say what happened. We were bragging about it
Yes,
a
yes,
month ago. We were saying, look at the Central.
yes. And Kansas City has
Oh,
been a big disappointment because they can't hit. They get terrible hitting, and now I see that Ragan's got the lefty, their best pitcher.
he's
He
yeah,
got shut down again, so
yes.
that's bad. But the Central is. What, are the Twins still second? Because Cleveland's
Yes,
gone
they're
to
9
10.
back and they're in second place.
Yeah, yeah. And Detroit just lost three in a row, right? So anyway,
Yes.
it's not going to be a good summer. Dave St. Peter picked a good year to get out, don't you think?
That's what I said on May 1st, too.
Because Dave doesn't have to explain the $1.6 billion paid attendance.
Yep. And
1.6 billion paid attendance.
and the thing that still has not gotten out that I would love to know is what are the subscriptions to Twins TV at this point?
Oh God, yes. How do they cover that up? How do we not find out? I guess it's not a public
It's
entity,
not a
huh?
public
It
entity
would
yet.
be up to them to tell us, right?
Or if Manfred, so the only one that we know was at some point, I think it was last season, the Padres came out, and that was Manfred talked about it, gave it out. So,
Hmm.
but I would love to know with the terrible start, then they come back and go. I think they were 14-2 in a 16-game span,
Yes.
and now I'd love to know if they've gotten any traction because my guess is no.
And when you subscribe to it, you didn't have to go for the year, right? It could be monthly, right?
Yes, you can go the year
Yeah,
or
good
monthly.
choice. Yeah, well, I mean, look at this thing as they're trying to sell this. People start looking at the books and see that 2 or 3 years ago they were getting $55 million for local TV, and now I bet they aren't getting five. I bet if the Padres really made 4 million last year
Yeah, they're not
while
getting
they
five.
while they filled up the ballpark
Yep,
every game, they drew 3 million two or something, and they still couldn't sell it. I don't know who's. Do you know people that have it? I don't know many people that have it. Do you have it?
I have it. Yep,
Yeah, you have it, and that's
and Declan has it in Phil, but I mean, it's
what
for work as
that's
much as
three.
anything.
That's
Well,
three.
and it's
What?
for work.
Yeah, what did it cost you? 119, 129 for the year or
No,
something like that?
it was 99. It was $100 for the year.
Wow. I
hundred
mean,
bucks for the season.
even if they're selling it cheap.
Yeah,
There's not yeah, it's I think it's pretty gloomy over there, but as I keep saying, how they ever won 13 in a row is beyond
how
my
about this one though,
wildest.
Pat? for Twins' incredible streaks, the 1980 team winning 12 consecutive. Where does
Yes,
that rank with the
yes.
13 for this club? Because that 80
That
club
that
was
was
awful.
now that was I was part of that. That came in September
Yep.
when Tom Kelly had not Tom Kelly. What's wrong with me? Gene Mock had they offered Gene a new contract, and a couple of days before we were in New York, I think, and the
Mm-hmm.
rumor was Gene was going to be signed up for like 3 more years because Howard Fox loved him, and Howard was getting Calvin, and then it didn't happen, and then 2 days later. Gene basically was back in California. He quit and left, and I don't think I think if you had a relationship with him, which I did, you were able to get him on the phone like 4 days later or something. But they basically had a 2 paragraph statement, and as I recall, we didn't get a chance to talk to him, and he flew back to California. And I think there was some meddling there because he and Gene Autry were pals,
Yeah.
and Autry, he probably talked to Autry and says, "What's going to happen out there?" Because was Fregosi still managing him? Maybe he was, and Gene probably said, "Well, come on out here. You're our next manager," or something like that. And but he didn't. He saw no hope here either because Calvin had, they had the good team in 77, right? 77,
Yes.
and then 78. All those guys left, Heisel and Bostock, and then they and then 79. Roy was fantastic for the first half of the year. He was the American League Player of the Year,
Yep.
and then they went in the tank, and then Calvin, then they then he saw no hope and went back home. But yeah, but then Johnny Grohl becomes manager.
Yes.
And Johnny, and they're playing that September baseball against teams that, all these teams are testing young guys, and Johnny, great guy, but just the worst as far as dealing with the media or anything, and not because he was a bad guy, but because he didn't want to answer any questions because he thought maybe he'd be saying the wrong thing or something.
Right.
So they won 12 in a row, but they won 12 in a row before 3,200 people. There was nobody going to the games, even the 12 in a row. And so 80, the Vikings were playing during the winning streak. It was the Viking season. It would be interesting to go back. I should go back and look at the clips from that thing. So, because I was writing columns in St. Paul then, but I remember being in the clubhouse, like guys wandering around. They couldn't figure out how they were doing it either.
That's remarkable.
Yeah, it is 12 in a row, and that got Johnny was going to be an interim, right? And then he won 12 in a row, so they named him the manager.
Oh,
And then, like the first, Billy Gardner was his third base coach, and the next year, the next spring, Johnny was like, I don't know if he went in and quit or what he did, but he wouldn't, like, you'd talk to him after the game and he wouldn't speak and stuff like that. It was like he just, I remember they took us out to lunch, dinner with him in Orlando, in 80. They took all the reporters out. They were gonna loosen Johnny up and get him, and Johnny wouldn't even speak at a free dinner with the Raiders hardly.
really?
So yeah, I mean he was a good guy.
Okay,
Groucho,
here's one. I've got a game here, a Saturday game during the midst of this streak at the Met when they drew 6,848.
Who we playing
That
then?
was the Royals.
The Royals. Okay,
The Royals.
6,000 on a Saturday.
On
Yeah, well,
Sunday,
Sunday because the Vikings were playing somewhere.
6,938. And
Yes.
and the remarkable thing is 9 of those 12 wins were all at home.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
they
Well.
played a 9-game homestand. They beat the White Sox, they beat the Rangers, they beat the Royals, and then they went to Texas and won 2 in a row, and then they beat the
Uh-huh.
Royals on the road.
And what did that team end up? What did they end up? They were still under 500, weren't they? Or were they
77 and 84, they were
84?
third.
and with a 12-game
And
winning
Mock was
streak.
54 and 71. Goral was
Yes,
23 and 13.
yeah, yeah, right. It was, yeah, it was, it was just. I mean, I guess in retrospect, I've been saying this 13-game winning streak is the most amazing thing, but that is the most amazing thing because that team was terrible. That team was awful. And the next year, I've always declared that whether wins or losses, you had the losingest team was the one with all the kids on it in with
82.
82. Of course,
Yep.
then they lost more than that, right? Here, didn't they? They the Molitor team in that got
Yes.
Paul fired was lost more games. But I've always said that 81 team was the worst ever, and they got saved. They basically got saved by the strike because they were they they were like 17 and 39 or something when the strike came.
Yep.
Something, and then after that, they were because they split it in half, and they were close to 500 for a while, and of course we've talked about this a lot, and people still have their World Series tickets from that year because they let them
Yes.
they let them print uh, you know, pasteboards of tickets. People, so you had World Series tickets for this god awful team. I
Yes.
think that's the team that Slick got stopped by the cop driving, getting off the plane from Kansas City, and he had a few drinks, and he got stopped, and they said, "Why have you been drinking, Mister Gardner?" And he said, "Because I managed the Twins." Then he was in jail. Then they had him in jail for a couple hours before they got him out with these drunks, that were in there, and Johnny, and they're BS, and they said, and he's in there with like two lunatics, and they said, "What are you doing?" He says, "I manage the Twins," and they all say, "What?" What? And they all thought, "Yeah, sure you do, pal." So anyway,
Wow.
that was
Did that get reported at the time?
we reported
I mean, I
some
don't
of it.
remember, but
Yeah, the quips. You had to go soft on drunken driving. So,
right.
but he was heading to the 7-Eleven where they all stayed. That's where they all lived at the coaching staff lived at basically lived at the 7-Eleven. They, you know, that's where Suchy lived there, Kelly lived there, Stelly lived there, and Billy lived there. And of course, Billy's
The
famous
Motel
quote.
6, you mean?
No, the seven, not 7-Eleven,
Super
the
8?
eight, Super
Super 8,
Eight,
yeah. In
Super Eight
Roseville,
in Roseville,
right by the old
and
Joe
that
Sensors.
and that's where the guy was leaving Joe Sensors, the semi driver, and was drunk, and he took out the end of the last rooms down there. He ran into the front of a room
Yeah.
when he was leaving, and that's when Gardner said, we now call it the Super 7. Yeah, he was.
Oh, God.
I don't think he would have worked in the modern era of communication because
He would not have decided the pitcher was going to not face a lineup 3 times.
oh God, no, no, he would have been 112 pitches, and he would have said, get it, give us another inning, will you, pal? So anyway, yeah, it was a fun time, but boy, the uh, the level of interest, and then they're building a new, they they've already got him committed to the dome, and Calvin never wanted to go down there. He did not like it, and you move into the dome in '82, you got your new stadium, and 2 weeks into the season, Calvin trades everybody. They that's I think Judd, I'm trying to do this off my memory, but their official attendance in a new stadium was 915,000, I think. It was less than a million, I
I
know
remember
that.
all the trades because they came
Yeah.
fast. Smalley,
Oh yeah.
Weiniger.
Oh yeah. They were everybody was going nuts that he was doing this with the
Here it is.
with the new ballpark.
921,186, 14th out of 14th in the American
In,
League
in
in a
a
new stadium
in a brand new stadium. They had
with no air at the time, though, right?
no air, no air, and just think how hot it would have been in there if there was any people there.
Oh God.
Yeah, it was not a body. You know, the no air thing officially came to an end because I think they knew all the time they had to put air conditioning in it, but they were trying to keep this. Don Poss was trying to keep it under 52 million or something, you know. But the Vikings, the famous Vikings first exhibition game where they basically had it filled up, and it was 96 and humid outside and 120 and humid inside. And at halftime, everybody went outside. They were out there fanning themselves, and half the crowd left because it was so damn hot in there.
Yep.
It was incredible. What the
And they
whole
said
idea.
because it was
It was a
built,
deep,
it
deep.
was deep enough that they
Going to
wouldn't need
be
air
It
conditioning.
was going to be naturally cooled.
We've come a
Uh,
long way as far as surveying things go.
yes, we have.
Oh
So
God.
anyway, that's the Twinsy situation, and we, as far as our Timberwolves are concerned, this Kevin Durant thing keeps getting mentioned. How is this possible? Do you do you really want to go to the third apron because he's making 53 million? Unless you can get rid of Rudy,
Right. They would have to get rid of Rudy.
you'd have to get rid of
They're
Rudy.
offering him, I guess. That's the word. Is that the Suns actually? I guess the Suns feel that the Wolves offer is the best one, but Durant keeps saying, "I don't want to go there."
Oh yeah, but and this whole thing is because he and Ant got along in Paris, and then he's Ant's favorite player or something. But is this motivated by the new owners, or that think you need to get Durant out? Maybe they want to get rid of Rudy that bad. I don't
Right.
know.
They might. Yeah.
Yeah, that could be it. But I mean, who? Nobody can afford him, for goodness sake. Nobody in the league, right? I mean, there's only a few
Durant.
teams that.
I think San Antonio, Houston. I think San Antonio and Houston are more have a better chance. I think Brooklyn, I think, is the only team with actually substantial salary cap
Money.
space this
Yes.
season, off season.
But what would it what would Brooklyn accomplish by bringing him in? They're not
Oh,
going to
they
bring
no,
in
they
playoffs. They're not going to bring
zero.
in playoffs for
They don't
like
want him.
2 3 years.
No.
Well, he wants to go somewhere where he can win, but he's what 37, right?
Yes, 37.
Um,
He also likes, not surprisingly, places that have no state income tax.
oh yeah, so he'd like to go to Florida or
Houston
something.
and Florida, or Texas and
Houston.
Florida. Yep,
Yeah. So yeah, that's become a bigger thing than ever now, right? I mean,
it's a big hockey talker.
yeah, Florida. That's Suits was saying there's a story that he can, the guy in Florida can get players for $1 million less
Yeah,
because they don't have any state income tax. So now does the NHL not do the thing where you got to pay the tax in each state that you go to or something?
I think you have to because of laws, not
Yeah.
because of league rules. But still,
Yes.
you
Yeah, that's
still
right. Not league rules. We charge visiting athletes to have to
right,
pay, but half your half your pay, and then the Tampa part
correct.
is because. So I wonder how the salary cap world's going to take that. By the way, this Florida team, I've had to. I've tried to get you to explain this to me. They're good. God Almighty! Every time they get challenged, when they come out and have to win, no matter where it is, they beat you 6-1. They just pound the hell out of you. It's
Yep.
I got news for Edmonton. It's over. You could go down there and have a miracle comeback, and if you end up having to play them in a game that this is it decides, you got no chance. They're going to beat you.
They remind me a little bit of the Islanders team that won four
Yes.
consecutive cups because they mentally are so strong. And to your point, they sort of just beat you. They grind you down.
Hmm. So do you think they got guys that sit on a bench and scream at a player
Like Brian Bellows.
like Brian Bellows? Maybe I feel sorry for Bellows because it's out there, but it's maybe one of my five favorite all-time videos, which
That
is
along along with the Earl Weaver argument in
yes,
Baltimore against
with Bill
Detroit.
Eller, yeah,
You're
with
here
Bill
to F us,
Eller,
Earl. We're
yes,
not here. You're here. You're here for one reason, to F us.
yeah. Well, the best part of it is
Oh
that
God.
when he tells him he's going to the Hall of Fame, and Aller says, "For what? Bleeping up a World Series."
I love that one.
So anyway, that's it for this week. We don't
Yeah.
have much going on, and hey, go Lynx! We can win the Commissioner's Cup tonight. I don't know what
They
it
make you
is, but
hang the banner too, just like the NBA does.
just like the
We
NBA,
got a banner there. We
we
got like
gotta
3 championships and a banner for
we
that.
gotta put up the Commissioner's Cup banner. They're pretty good. I was over there Saturday, and of course, we were all traumatized by the murders, but they beat that team. It was, 50-20 at one time. Nafisa, uh, I was actually talking to Collar the other day, exchanging things, and Collar's a big Lynx fan, and
Oh, loves them. Yep, loves
he
them.
says, "Who could have guessed she could end up with a second Maya Moore?" Meaning Nafisa Collier is
Yeah.
that good? Is she the best player in the league?
Yep.
So anyway, now that this is all done, I want to recommend to you that you go out to Jim Paul and Brett Paul's Valley Group of GM dealers. And SUV inventory is fantastic. The Invista, the smaller SUV, what a vehicle this is. You know who's excited about it? Suchi Boy.
Oh
Suchi Boy
yeah.
keeps telling me what a great vehicle it is. And right now we got low interest rates, high factory rebates, and fantastic inventory. And Jim Paul and Brett Paul's Valley Group of GM dealers, also out in Apple Valley, they always have good financial people that are going to make the deal work for you, make the payments work for you. These are veteran men and women who could make the deal for you. And so I recommend them highly. I've been dealing with them for 12, 13, 14 years and have always been satisfied. The Valley Group of GM dealers, check out the website and look at the inventory. You will be impressed.
All right, Patrick. We'll talk to you on Wednesday.
All right, sir. See
Take
you.
care. Bye bye.
Bye.